So that's one of the reasons I created this platform, is to help you understand that the interpersonal aspects and the organizational aspects of leadership are actually going to provide you with the foundation to help you feel confident to be an instructional leader. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I help aspiring school leaders navigate interpersonal and organizational complexities for greater instructional impact. And I believe that you can't get instructional leadership right if you don't lead people and the organization well. Today, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you might not feel ready to be a school leader. And this topic came about because I've had several conversations with aspiring school leaders, with teacher leaders, with individuals who actually have their school leadership certification. However, through conversation, sometimes they've expressed to me that they just don't think that they're ready. They don't feel like they're ready. And everybody has their personal experience, right? So we're not invalidating anyone's personal experience because everyone's experience is valid, right? Just because our experience might not be the same as somebody else's, or just because we don't necessarily agree with the reasons as to why somebody might not feel ready to step into school leadership, doesn't mean that their reason is invalid. However, I do want to highlight the word feel, because sometimes we know that our feelings are valid. Sometimes we also know that our feelings are fickle. Our feelings sometimes don't always give us an accurate indication of our capabilities. Sometimes stepping into school leadership is not about feeling ready, because many times you are ready. You have the competencies. However, you're letting your feelings drive your decisions. And I think that feelings should be in the passenger seat helping us to drive, but ultimately we should be the ones that are pressing the gas or pressing the brake, slowing down at the light, stopping at the stop signs, right? So I want you to keep that in mind as you continue your school's leadership journey. Sometimes our feelings are fickle, and we just need to be reminded of that. Not to invalidate your experience, but to allow you to see that sometimes we have to push past our feelings because of the impact that we're looking to make. But let's get into our 5 reasons why you might not feel ready to be a school leader. Number 1, you might not be ready to leave the classroom, right? Those genuine connections that you've created with your students. You might not be ready to leave the classroom because of that. You might not be ready to leave the classroom or feel ready to leave the classroom because of the incremental gains that you get to see, which ultimately drives your passion for education and to be a teacher. You might not feel ready because of the relationships, the synergy that you've created with your co-teacher. You just might not be ready to give that up. You might not be ready to give up the routine, right? Because you know that school leadership is unpredictable at times, right? From minute to minute, things may change and you might have to react. And so you might not be ready to give up the process of planning and seeing your lessons come to fruition. That might be another reason why you might not feel ready to leave the classroom. And I completely understand that, right? However, I think it's important to address the fact again, just because you might not feel ready doesn't mean that you aren't actually ready. Number 2, you might have concerns about work-life balance, which is obviously, again, just like number 1 is valid, number 2 is also a valid reason why you might not feel ready. Concerns about work-life balance. I will say this. Depending on the level that you are striving to be a school leader in, meaning elementary school, middle school, or high school, and obviously your school district in your particular context, your school that you're actually applying to, I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that if you are going into an elementary school environment, you most likely are not going to have to stay after school each day to be involved in different sports events or different things, because typically elementary schools do not have sports teams or club activities. But your context might be different, right? And so from my personal experience, I've seen that the high school level, you have the most activities after school that you might actually have to attend, which is going to extend your day, right? So my experience has been that the elementary school, then middle school, then high school has the most workload as it relates to things outside of school, right? It incrementally increases as you go up in level, right? Elementary school, middle school, and then high school. That's been my experience, right? But either way, school leadership in general does require, it requires some work-life balance, right? And when we talk about work-life balance, it doesn't mean that you are balancing work and balancing life equally. I think that it really depends on the time and attention that you give to both. So you want to be present when you're at home. You want to be present when you're at work. And you want to also give yourself a cutoff time if you're doing work at home. You also want to give yourself a cutoff time if you are going to stay late at school, right? I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that the work is always going to be there. The work will get done. However, you do need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well. So I do understand the concern of work-life balance. Number 3, lack of experience. You might feel like you haven't gained enough hands-on experience in various settings to confidently help lead a school or department. And I will say, unfortunately, not everyone gets an actual hands-on experience as it relates to their school leadership internship. I completely understand that. I know that, not everybody has time throughout the day to go into the main office and to actually sit in on conversations, to actually get those hands-on experiences during the summer, right? Teachers have many different things on their plate. And so as it relates to trying to get practical experiences that are going to allow you to really experience school leadership, I completely understand how that could be a barrier in your mind in terms of you believing that you are not ready to step into school leadership. I completely understand that. Number 4, skill gaps. You might recognize areas where your leadership skills, such as conflict resolution, strategic planning, or instructional leadership, still need development. Now, when it comes to skill gaps, this is one of the reasons why I created this podcast, Beyond the Classroom. It's to help you understand that, yes, instructional leadership is extremely important. You are constantly, or you should hopefully, get professional development as it relates to being an instructional leader, right? Looking at the evaluation tool, diving deep into each component, being able to give practical feedback, being able to go into classrooms and knowing what to look for. All of those things are extremely important as it relates to your instructional leadership. And I believe that hopefully you will be getting constant training on those particular areas. It's the interpersonal aspects of leadership and the organizational aspects of leadership that aren't always, you might not always get training on those particular areas, right? And so that's one of the reasons I created this platform, is to help you understand that the interpersonal aspects and the organizational aspects of leadership are actually going to provide you with the foundation to help you feel confident to be an instructional leader, right? I think oftentimes we forget about that aspect, or those two aspects, as important pillars to your leadership and to actually improving instruction in your particular environment. So skill gaps might be a reason as to why you might not feel ready to be a school leader. And number 5, you might have a fear of responsibility, right? The weight of managing staff, students, and complex school operations can seem overwhelming, making you question your readiness. I get that. And so with leadership comes great responsibility. And I'm big on the fact that the weight of responsibility is not solely yours to bear. However, if you are in a leadership position, you do have a responsibility. You do play a major part in the responsibility of having a successful school year, of allowing things to run smoothly on a daily basis and removing barriers for teachers and students so that they can thrive. I completely understand that. However, as it relates to the responsibility, that is just what comes with leadership. With leadership comes great responsibility. I want you to think about these particular reasons as to why you want to step into school leadership, why you should step into leadership. And number one, the impact that you will have on the entire school community. So right now, as a classroom teacher, you might have a major impact on the individuals that you are serving in your particular classroom. But when you become a school leader, now your impact is going to be so much greater. Because guess what? There is a community that's out there waiting for you to step into the call toward leadership. There are students that are waiting for you. You have that burning desire and passion to do this work, and you can do it. And so I want you to constantly think about the impact that you will have on the entire school community as opposed to the specific individuals in your classroom. Number two, you'll be able to shape school culture and you will be able to shape instruction, right? You know, you've been watching, you've been learning, you've been developing, and you understand that school culture is going to drive instruction. School culture is going to drive the relationships. School culture is going to drive so many aspects of student achievement that you want to be a part of, and you know how to do it. And so I want you to constantly think about your reasons toward going into school leadership as opposed to the fear that you have of actually stepping into the role. Number three, you'll actually be able to amplify your influence by supporting teachers. So you've been watching, you've been studying, you understand how to actually support teachers. And so imagine the impact that you're going to have when you step into school leadership. Imagine the relationships and the actual support and development that you will have on teacher practice, because you know firsthand what teachers actually need. And so your impact and your influence is going to grow. Number four, you'll be able to create positive change on a larger scale. So going back to the community, going back to the individuals. See, when you become a school leader, you're also becoming a community leader. So there's an entire community that's waiting for you to step into leadership. That means that the large scale impact that you're going to make is also, and this is leading us into our last point, it's also going to help you to leave a lasting legacy. What would you like your legacy to be? Who do you want to actually impact? How are you going to use the gifts that you've been given to actually serve people on a broader scale? I want you to think about these reasons as to why you actually want to step into school leadership, as opposed to the fear that you feel that's hindering you from progress. Because these reasons, you're going to need to hold them tight. Because even when you step into school leadership, there are going to be challenges that are going to, and it might actually make you question why you wanted to get into leadership in the first place. But I want to let you know that you're built for this. You can do this work. People are counting on you. And if you don't feel ready, take your time, because school leadership will be there. But I will say this, the more time you take, the less impact and influence that you will be able to have on a broader scale on the students who you have been called to actually impact, the teachers that you've been called to actually impact. So take your time. Take your time. However, continue along the process make progress toward reaching that goal of being the school leader that you want to be. I hope this episode added value, and if it did, share it with somebody else. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so that you do not miss a message. In the comment section below, I love to hear some of the reasons why you might not feel ready to be a school leader. I'll be checking the comment section to respond. And as always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.